thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Just saying.
Yes. Oh, yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Friday, August 15th, and today is National Leathercraft Day. You know about Leathercraft? You guys do that a lot in Vermont, right? A lot of leather crafters out there.
I'd like to get into leather crafting. It seems like it'd be fun.
You know, I know a lot of inmates in federal prison do a lot of leather crafting. They've sent us some wallets and different stuff over the years and whatnot. So shout out to them.
1,000%.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Lemon Meringue Pie Day today.
It's good to see the lemon meringue pie lobbyists are, in full force.
Yeah, lemon terps, man. And Dr. Mark, you're gonna love this the most, probably more than anybody. It's National Relaxation Day.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm all about that.
Right? That's the Vermont lifestyle right there, an actual relaxation day.
Well, in the summer,
yeah,
dog days of summer. Actually, it's a beautiful day today. So yeah,
man,
absolutely.
I love
a good day to relax.
Yeah, no, I love the East Coast and Vermont summers, man. Those were always the best. Some of my favorite times being out there,
Jason,
except for the mosquitoes.
Not a good day to relax.
Yes, I'm gonna say the days that are not good to relax would be days where there is a lot of turmoil going on, when a lot of things have to get done.
Here you go.
So
that's not one today.
No, it's not today. No. I totally agree. It's definitely is not today. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.highat9news.com. So thank you all for joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from, you guys. And still no Jenny yet, huh? Interesting. I'm wondering if I should just go into my story first, Dr. Mark, or if I should just read Jenny's story. Yeah. What do you guys think? Should I read?
Sure,
should I just read Jenny's story, or should I just?
Want me to introduce you? I could introduce you. I could try to.
Oh, that's. Well, hold on. But the first question is, should I read Jenny's story, or should I just read my story?
I think you should read your story in case Jenny pops in. Right?
All right. Well, no, she's definitely is going to pop in. That's for sure. I'm just going to have to go and make some edits on the description. But nonetheless,
I got you. I can do it.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Thank you, Elias. Well. All right, Dr. Mark, you're going to love this. This is super interesting today because.
Wait a second. Let me introduce you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The highest Republican in the room, head honcho here at High at 9 News. You know him and we love him. Jason Beck, here he is.
Oh, that was phenomenal, Dr. Mark. Thank you so much, my man.
I do.
Yes. Oh, I love it, man. I'm so here for it. Well.
Gretchen approved.
Yes, 100%. Well, this is a super interesting study, Dr. Mark, as people have been apparently studying some drugs over here or something because they say CBD may reduce social withdrawal, and cocaine vulnerability caused by stress, Dr. Mark. You believe that?
Okay.
That's, man.
Yes,
man.
I do.
I was thinking they're going to start selling mainline and CBD apparently in Vegas hotels or something, because a new study published in Neuropharmacology found that cannabidiol, CBD, counteracted some harmful behavioral and brain changes caused by social stress in mice, including heightened sensitivity to cocaine's rewarding effects, you guys. Oh, man. Researchers from the University of Valencia, University of Zaragoza, and University of Heidelberg used an intermittent social defeat, better known as an ISD model, where adolescent male mice were exposed to aggressive encounters. ISD increased social avoidance, anxiety-like behavior, and made mice more likely to prefer a cocaine-associated environment in adulthood. It also altered the expression of genes linked to serotonin signaling, the endocannabinoid system, and the stress-regulating hypoplymmathius pulmonary adrenal, better known as HPA axis. Did I get that right, Dr. Mark?
Yes.
All right. When CBD was administered before each stress episode, it prevented the social interaction deficits and increased cocaine preference seen in stressed mice, though it did not reduce anxiety-like behavior. CBD also reversed most ISD-related changes in gene expression, including reductions in serotonin transporter, better known as 5-HTT, and cannabinoid receptor CB1R and CB2R. Citrochlorophene releasing factor CRF and pupamarathican POMC. Pupamarathican. I'm not sure if I got that one right, Dr. Mark. But it says, however, effects varied by dose, and CBD did not reverse the stress-induced increase in glucocorticoid receptor expression. The findings suggest CBD could help reduce social withdrawal and lower vulnerability to cocaine addiction following stress exposure, and potentially through its effects of serotonin, endocannabinoid, and stress response systems. While these preclinical results are promising, the authors note that human trials with people who have cocaine use disorder have so far shown limited benefits, highlighting the need for further research, you guys. Oh, look at that. Man, oh man, oh man. CBD is good for people that use cocaine, apparently. And apparently maybe it's not just good for mice, but man, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Cannabis was on to something, huh, Jason?
They just may have been, Jenny Beth, you're so right. It just might have been a true medical grade product.
I haven't heard those two syllables together in a long time.
Oh, man.
I know some people that were willing to try it, and I'm like, oh, okay, you guys, it makes sense that you would do this.
Mm-hmm.
So
hold on.
This is really interesting stuff that you found out. Jenny, what were you going to say? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just making a shitty comment about somebody and the people that were willing to try Cannabis and the people who did try them. I was like, oh, checks out. You would. Mm-hmm. But I actually interrupted Dr. Mark. Sorry.
Dr. Mark, go for it, Dr. Mark.
I said, did I miss something, or do mice do cocaine?
Apparently, these mice in these settings, they do cocaine. They be turning up, apparently.
Have you spent any time in Chicago or New York City? Those mice smoke Newports, carry guns, and like...
It's just a drug that's broken down.
Yeah, I'm just poking fun. I'm sure they're referring to a mice animal model for cocaine preference or something like that. But no, I mean, it's no wonder. I mean, we've talked about this with Dr. T before, how the dopamine pleasure system is, intimately connected with the endocannabinoid system. And when you think about the different ways that those two systems interact in the body, it's very, very complex. And so I would assume that, again, the reward that the addict feels when they're consuming something that are addicted to, not including like nicotine or cocaine or something like that, could be affected by, supplementing your endocannabinoid system, right? Let's face it, I don't think it's a one-to-one, like, is cannabis a replacement therapy for being addicted to opiates or coke or anything like that? No, probably. But I think it could be part of the program, right? So if you could really have access to high quality cannabis and concentrates and, whatever moves your THC needle, doesn't that take the place in part of what the addict is striving for, unless they're on that mission to, see God, right? Chase the dragon, get higher every time, right?
It's pretty.
I mean, the cannabis user is just perfectly happy with just being in their cannabis-induced state, right? They don't need to proceed where maybe the addict has to get higher. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense.
This has been interesting stuff. No, I see what you're saying there, Dr. Mark. I think it really does. The idea of addiction and how that impacts and interacts with our brain is mind-blowing. And just to know that a huge part of like this humongous complex roadmap includes the endocannabinoid system, but without ever having studied it fully, at least compared to these other systems and responses, there's nothing that actually gives us an actual description of what the endocannabinoid system is doing or how it's interacting at that point. You almost have to put it together. In fact, I've seen and read, other areas where serotonin receptors are absolutely implicated in their interactions with the endocannabinoid system. 5T1A, I'm going off of, what's that?
I said, especially with CBD. So the article was referring to CBD. And so, if you consider like how CBD acts, it doesn't act like THC at the CB1 receptor, right? It's what they call a negative allosteric modulator. So it affects the way that THC works with the receptor, right? But it also, it inhibits something called FA. And FA is the regulatory enzyme that basically degrades anandamide, which is the body's own cannabinoid that it's producing for the CB1 receptor. So it's very, very complex. Like, I don't think, I've actually, so check it out, man. Like with the nano-emulsified versions of CBD, I could actually feel psychoactivity, if you will, of CBD because it feels just the opposite of THC, at least in my body, right? So it's kind of like it's the opposite of getting high.
So, Dr. Mark, this pho is totally not related to pho the soup, correct?
Spelled differently. FAAH there, Jason.
Okay. All right.
And so if you want to think about it from just a very broad view, just for all the listeners and stuff, if you're backing out a little bit, there's three components to your endocannabinoid system. There's the receptors, the neurotransmitters, and there are the enzymes that break down things like anandamide, which is what Dr. Mark was just referring to. So CBD is pure fucking magic if you really review how it actually works. On one hand, it interacts with the body and it creates, there's this endocannabinoid, anandamide, the bliss molecule, they call it, that essentially is responsible for a lot of the upkeep, especially mood-wise, that the endocannabinoid system will do for your body. Other uses too, but I'm just focusing on this for the moment. Now, in terms of how this benefits the consumer of CBD, it upticks the anandamide production while at the same time inhibiting FA from being able to break down anandamide at a normal rate. I call CBD fucking magic because how is this molecule, which seemingly is completely separate from our body, able to basically almost pinpoint the usefulness of this particular molecule in our body, and while pinpointing it, uptake the flow of it and increase the amount that we have available while also decreasing the amount that it's breaking down. It's absolutely magic. And that is a huge component in terms of CBD, mood-based enhancements, and who knows what other implications, because we know dick about the endocannabinoid system, but who knows what other implications that being able to benefit this cycle that just seemingly works beautifully, harmoniously with your body and how it's supposed to work more or less anyways. Who's to say what else we'll discover on that?
Fascinating. Any final thoughts on this, Jenny? This cocaine trip?
No.
Oh man, all I gotta say is fi you and fi me, and we're gonna roll to our first commercial, and we are gonna be right back, you guys. Okay. Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Dr. Mark.
Gone, back off.
Oh, man. And we are back. And we are going to roll right into Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3. And she helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back on track, especially since she acknowledged that yesterday. That's right. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
No, I said impacted, which is the right word.
I don't know. I remember hearing impaired. We'll have to check the tape.
Well, thank God it's always streaming on YouTube, so you can go watch our show over again yesterday, and you can correct yourself. Yeah, empirically verifiable facts, Jason. But anyway, yeah, let's not bother Jason with any of those. A new study is shining light on the potential healing powers of a lesser-known cannabis compound, and it's all about the liver. Researchers from the Iowa Women's University and the Catholic University of Korea have found that CBG may significantly reduce liver fibrosis by targeting both lipid buildup and inflammation. Published in the journal Biomedicine and Pharmacotherapy, the study focuses on human liver cells exposed to fatty acids tied to liver damage. That sounds like alcohol, right? CBG was shown to inhibit fat production while boosting liphagy, a cellular process that breaks down fat droplets. It also slashed key inflammatory molecules, I can't talk today, like IL-6, IL-1B, and TNFA, also known contributors to liver injury. The research points to CBG's activation of AMPK, a major energy and fat metabolism regulator, as the driving force behind these benefits. When AMPK was blocked, CBG's positive effects vanished, further confirming its crucial role. CBG also stopped the activation of hepatic stellate cells, the main culprits behind liver scarring. Although the study suggests that CBG's dual impact on fat metabolism and inflammation makes it a promising therapeutic candidate for treating metabolic-associated and other fibrotic liver diseases. So I'm going to throw this to Dr. Mark because I need you to explain some things. Can you break all that down?
Liver.
Yeah, I could break some of it down. Well, AMPK is something called AMP protein kinase, and it's involved in well, let's back up for a second. So, again, I got to go through. There's a lot to unpack with what you just said.
Can you tell us what AMPK is, first of all?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just, like everybody else, I just Googled it. AMPK is a crucial enzyme that's involved in, it's a cellular energy sensor and regulator. It plays a vital role in the energy balance in the cell. And so right away, when I think energy, I think of the mitochondria. So the mitochondria is the thing that exists in the cell that's kind of like the cell's energy factory, right? And so one of the things that cannabinoids do, see, I'm trying to make this, the reason why I paused for a moment there is because, again, your mind is awash with all of the connections between these various systems. Look, we've talked about the serotonergic or the serotonin-based receptors, the dopamine receptors. Now we're talking about the cannabinoid receptors. We're talking about the cellular generation of energy, which happens in the mitochondria, which is related to things like AMP. So AMP and cyclic AMP is a very important hallmark sign of how the cannabinoids work, because they basically turn on these things. So the K in AMPK is a kinase. And what a kinase does is it phosphorylates. It adds basically the phosphorus molecule to things in a process called post-translational modification. So what you're doing is you're putting phosphate groups onto proteins and onto sugars. And what that does is phosphate is anionic charged, and it naturally has an affinity to bind to things like calcium. And what we know is that one of the things that you were speaking, again, there's a lot of depthness to your article today, Jenny. I mean, the release of these pro-inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-2 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. And then there's this game, again, that's played in the cell with the release of things that are going to increase inflammation because it's an inflammatory response, like your immune system in overdrive. And that's what causes damage in diseases like COVID, right? So what we know is that your cytokine storm, which is your immune response, is like, I got to get rid of this virus. And so in that, purging immune response, there's a lot of collateral damage, which creates an inability for, the patient to, continue its pulmonary function, which is the exchange of oxygen and CO2 in and out of the blood. But just to go back to, again, something that we were talking about earlier is the interconnectivity of these systems. Again, my mind is awash to think, okay, so how does the endocannabinoid system affect this? And this, we're talking about energy. So we're talking about, like, does smoking weed make you tired? Does it burn energy? Does you burn calories? Is getting high kind of like a way of, again, fostering certain processes in your body that's going to basically burn more calories, in terms of like how the body manifests something called the Krebs cycle, which is how it turns, CO2 and sugar into energy. I mean, there's so many different things here. So many that's why I was not confused, but I was left, where are we in the biological continuum here? Are we just operating in one area? We're talking about cannabinoids, and what you were mentioning before was, again, the things that are increasing inflammation. And we know that cannabinoids are anti-inflammatory. So is this like one of the mechanisms or one of the manifestations of the anti-inflammatory properties of cannabinoids? A lot to unpack, Jenny. There's, just huge stuff here. So I don't know where to go. What do you want to talk about?
Wow.
Right?
Well, I mean, the liver is basically your filter for all of your organs to remove all of your toxins.
Okay, so let's talk about the liver for a second. So the liver is it creates enzymes and it processes materials. So we've often heard about CBD. One of the side effects of high doses of CBD, and this came out in the Epidiolex trials to get Epidiolex approved, is they do see increase in liver enzymes. And what they do know is that there is an interaction with CBD isolate that you don't see with full spectrum CBD, because the other cannabinoids have an attenuated response in the liver. And so, so the liver function is absolutely essential for your life. Everyone needs a liver. That's why they have liver transplants, right? And keep people alive by giving people new livers. Liver function. In fact, again, one of the things that I'm always concerned with, and why I would talk to someone like Dr. T, is when you're talking to an older patient who's taking a lot of FDA pharmaceuticals, how will the CBD oil that they're taking or the CBD cookie or interact with all the pharmaceuticals? So they're taking this one for their cholesterol, this one for their blood pressure, this one for their gout, this one for their yada, yada, yada. So how those things interact is an unknown, let alone how CBD, which again changes the way the liver metabolizes those pharmaceuticals. And there's now been cases documented, like what we talked about last week, about things that can be issues with how CBD interacts with the metabolism of certain drugs in the liver.
Interesting.
Sorry to run on.
No. Yep.
How fucking cool is CBG though, huh? Like just to just to shine a little bit of light on.
That's a whole other thing. That's a different molecule, right?
Just to shine a little bit of
different sets of yeah.
I think the part of the study right there that was behind the Jenny Beth's article shined a big light on CBG, and really just, if anything, gave us a lot more to really appreciate that chemical in this plant by. CBG was already doing a lot of heavy lifting with regards to the anti-inflammatory research that's out there, as well as potential anti-cancer applications. Obviously, still still requiring huge amounts of research and requires to be further validated. But here's another area where we actually have, something that looks like it's well on the pathway of leading to proof for long-term liver health based on the presence of this molecule. Now, why I like this, and Dale brings it up sometimes on Thursdays, is at some point I mentioned, just in your show, Jason, about how one of the cool things about cannabis is that between different routes of administration and different cannabinoids, you have this myriad of, natural healing opportunities that can come from cannabis, right? And by being able to actually know these things, by being able to reflect on research such as what was covered right here and what we delved into further, it gives you the opportunity to take something like CBG, which normally wouldn't be readily available in the market. Like CBG is this, a chemical precursor to THC and CBD and possibly other uses in the plant, but it doesn't usually hit the marker whenever we talk about the quality of, this particular strain or this particular product. We don't usually have CBG in our conversations, right, Jason?
No, not generally, yeah.
So this is actually a thing. Like, what if somebody's potentially suffering from some form of degenerative liver disorder? Is there now the startings of research, the beginnings of being able to say this person needs this particular application through this plant from this route of administration, which opens up a whole nother chapter of being able to bridge Eastern, Western medicines, being able to actually understand this plant for what it's good for, and actually improving the quality of life for people rather than demonizing a plant who thought that those two things were going to be, extremes of the exact same subject, right? That's about all I have to say there. I don't think I constructed all those thoughts perfectly, but how fucking cool is CBG, huh?
CBG for the win.
I'll summarize with two things. I mean, there's a lot of new research. In fact, our friend Jehan Marcoux just published a paper or article, in Rolling Stone on CBG, kind of like the unknown cannabinoid or whatever. I forget exactly.
The unsung hero of the cannabinoid world.
Yeah, but Ethan Russo and others have now shown that it has all kinds of different activity. I mean, we know it's antibacterial. We know it has certain activity in the gut where, again, it's not by acting on the cannabinoid receptors. And again, I think one of the more significant findings wasn't on CBG, was actually on CBGA, in that CBGA inhibits something called store-operated calcium entry into the cell, which again is similar to what was covered in Jenny's story, because that's a fundamental calcium current that's involved in the inflammatory response. And in fact, that discovery might actually unearth, again, all applications of cannabinoid acids, not just the cannabinoids, but the cannabinoid acids, which again opens up a whole nother Pandora's box of opportunities, because just different molecules.
Technically, Dr. Mark, anytime you open up acid, it's generally probably going to break open a whole new Pandora's box. But Jenny Beth, you have any final thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
All right, we're gonna.
I feel like I confused Dr. Mark, and I'm just, that's a great way to start a Friday.
I mean, hey. You almost kind of left him speechless. He didn't even know where to start. He was like, "Oh man, there's so much to unpack."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Mark, the study is linked at our site at high9news.com, so you can read the entire study and digest it.
Most definitely.
I'll look at it, Jenny, and maybe come back next week with some further thoughts if there's anything worth sharing.
Sweet. And Dr. Mark, you got to, next Friday is a big Friday, because it is our 4-year anniversary of High at 9 News next Friday.
Oh.
Yes. So, awesome. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So thank you all for always tuning in and watching us and supporting us. We super do appreciate it. We don't want to, we wouldn't be here without you guys watching and checking us out every day. So thank you all to everybody out there. And we're going to roll right in to Dr. Mark Scialdone. He's a chemist. He does analysis. He does research, and he may just be getting funded by this administration in some point, in some way. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. It's August 15th. God, we're in the middle of August already.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
It's almost, summertime's almost over, bro. It's almost time for Labor Day weekend.
Summertime come and gone, my oh my.
You're about to have snow in a few more days, Dr. Mark.
Absolutely. Well, first we'll start to see the trees turn color. I've seen a couple
the autumn.
Maples starting to turn their colors already, and it's like, oh no, here we come. All in Vermont. Get ready for the tourists. Well, happy Friday, everyone. Hope everyone's having a great week. Hope you got some cannabis plans this weekend. Enjoy the plant and enjoy each other. Today, a really exciting story. This comes from my friend Kind Bill. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you alerting me to this story. We all know Kind Bill is basically the guy who came up with the term live resin. Right, I think the first guy who blasted fresh frozen weed, Kind Bill Fenger. Hey, Bill, thank you so much.
Much love to
Bill.
Bill.
The title of this article is "Don't Throw Away Those Cannabis Leaves. They're packed with rare compounds." And this is a contribution from the Stellenbosch University. I didn't even know about this university until I looked into it. They're in South Africa. It turns out that South Africa is a hotbed of cannabis innovation and cannabis research. I'm in a conversation right now with a medical doctor there who has showed wonderful, wonderful results on treating things like pancreatic cancer and other things like brain cancer with cannabinoids, Dr. Shiksa. So anyway, the title of this is "Don't Throw Away Those Cannabis Leaves. They're Packed with Rare Compounds." And it says, analytical chemist from the Stellenbosch University, SU is what they call it, I guess, have provided the first evidence that a rare class of phenolics called flavoalkaloids are in cannabis leaves. Phenolic compounds, especially flavonoids, are well known and sought after in the pharmaceutical industry because of their antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and anti-carcinogenic properties. We've just talked a little bit about anti-inflammatories and antioxidants. Antioxidant is something that basically quenches something called free radicals, which they know leads to damage of DNA and cancer and things like that. So that's why antioxidants are good. And anti-carcinogenic properties, well, that basically means what it says, which is that they help the body fight against an onslaught of carcinogenic compounds that we come in contact with, whether you're breathing in automobile exhaust or eating some crappy food that's got synthetic dyes and all kinds of other crap in it. You know, ultimately our bodies are assaulted over the lifetime with carcinogenic compounds. So having anti-cancer or anti-carcinogenic properties is a good thing. The researchers identified 79 phenolic compounds. Let's talk about this. Phenolic compound is where you have a benzene ring, right, an aromatic ring with an OH group. OH is kind of like emblematic of an alcohol, like methanol and ethanol. Well, when you put an OH group onto an aromatic ring, you have a phenolic compound. Right, that's phenol itself, which is that stuff that they used to put into Listerine. I'm not talking about Lister mint. I'm talking about Listerine back in the day when it was, you know, that yellow stuff that really tasted horrible. Cepacol is also something that uses phenol. So if you've ever used the stuff that you spray into your mouth, now polyphenolic compounds like the flavonoids and like the phenols and polyphenols that are found in things like coffee and berries and other juices and pomegranate oil and stuff like that. Those are essential oil components like what you find in green tea extract that are super, super healthy for you. They help, again, the body fend off all kinds of disease. So these phenolic compounds in 3 different strains of cannabis grown commercially in South Africa, of which 25 were reported for the first time in cannabis. So this is pretty significant research. These folks are doing pretty significant analytical detective work to find out what are in cannabis leaves. So 16 of these compounds were tentatively identified as flavoalkaloids. Okay, so an alkaloid, unlike a cannabinoid, cannabinoids and alkaloids are different classes of compounds, right? And so a flavoalkaloid is basically an alkaloid that's got a phenolic kind of structure to it, right? And in that phenolic structure, you basically have an isoflavone or a flavone type molecule that now has a nitrogen containing moiety in the molecule. And so that's extremely rare. There's very few nitrogen compounds in the trichome. So again, this is identified in the cannabis leaf, and certainly these flavoalkaloids could have all different kinds of medicinal properties. So interestingly, the flavoalkaloids were mainly found in leaves, so not in the trichome. So they're finding these in leaves. Again, there's probably some type of function that these serve as a secondary metabolite that we just don't understand yet, because these are the first time that these compounds have been isolated. So Dr. Marguerite Mueller, an analytical chemist in the LCMS laboratory at the Central Analytical Facility at Stellenbosch University, and the first author of the paper, says the analysis of the plant phenolic compounds is challenging due to their low concentration and their extreme structural diversity. So that tells you right there that these compounds are only in the leaves in very, very trace amounts. Trace amounts being, you know, very, very small. So most plants contain highly complex mixtures of phenolic compounds, and while flavonoids widely occur throughout the plant kingdom, the flavoalkaloids are very rare in nature, she explains. We know that cannabis is extremely complex. It contains more than 750 different metabolites. We didn't expect much variation in the phenolic profiles between the 3 strains, nor detect so many compounds for the first time in these species. In particular, the first evidence of flavoalkaloids in cannabis is indeed very, very exciting. So, you know, I could relate to this. When you discover something in the laboratory for the first time, it's extremely exciting because you don't know what its impact will be, and how important will it be once other scientists see this and once other people began to study what the property of these flavoalkaloids could be. For her graduate or postgraduate studies at SU University's Department of Chemistry and Polymer Science, where she developed powerful analytical methods combining comprehensive two-dimensional liquid chromatography and high-resolution mass spectrometry for the detailed characterization of these compounds. Now, in particular, they used a method that I was unaware of until I read this paper. So this is always great, you know. I mean, I've been doing science for over 40 years now, and whenever I read paper and I learn about a new technique, it's like adding another tool to your toolbox if you're a mechanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know about this new technique now, which I didn't know until I read this paper, and it's called hydrophilic interaction chromatography, which is kind of like very different than typical reverse phase chromatography. So I've got some articles to read to learn a little bit more about it, but this was basically the technique that they had used. And they were looking for applications for this technique since they were, developing it. And this turned out to be a wonderful application to identify these compounds that were found in the leaves of cannabis. So according to Professor Andre de Villers, her study leader and main author of the paper, he was blown away by the chromatographic results that Mueller obtained. The excellent performance of the two-dimensional chromatography allowed for the separation of the flavoalkaloids from the much more abundant flavonoids, which we've heard about and known about for years. So this is basically a smaller class within that class of flavonoids, which they were able to detect that these rare compounds, this is the first time they've detected them in cannabis. So it's exciting whenever you do something for the first time. Our analysis, again, highlights the medicinal potential of cannabis plant material and what's typically regarded as waste, right? People normally just throw their leaves and trim away. Trim, I guess, is one thing, but I know that in the production of cannabis, there's a lot of waste that's just, generated from just, fan leaves and whatnot. So cannabis exhibits a rich and unique profile, and this, again, is a demonstration of non-cannabinoid phenolics. So it's not, the THC and the CBD and the typical cannabinoids. These are this new class of flavoalkaloids, which could be extremely relevant for biomedical research perspective, he concludes. So yeah, really exciting study. I love seeing stuff like this come out, and it's great that, we're identifying more potential leads for, therapeutic uses of molecules that are found in this miracle plant of ours. So what a wonderful story to tell on this Friday, right? I love this.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic news, Dr. Mark. And I'm just wondering, some of these compounds, I know a lot of people would take the fan leaves and juice them, and a lot of people got a lot of really good results treating cancer and things like that from juicing their fan leaves. Could some of these components that are in there actually be, cancer fighting agents that don't necessarily come through in the flower portion of the plant?
That's what this would suggest. I mean, if you look at the complexity of these molecules, what you'll see is that they will not survive combustion, or probably not survive at nail temperature, right? Mm-hmm. So like if you were to try to take these, so flavonoids, usually, like the flavonoids that we know in that occur in cannabis, and there's a lot of discussions about things like canflavins and other derivatives that are a much wider class of molecules, is that they often come with a phenolic part of the molecule called the aglycone, and they come with a carbohydrate or part of the molecule, right? So there's a carbohydrate form and there's this phenolic thing. When you distill cannabis, when you extract and distill it, that molecule is too big to be distilled. So what you often get in the distillate is just the aglycone, which is just a portion of the molecule that occurs in the plant. So when you're juicing whole cannabis, like you said, you're getting a completely different profile of molecules that if you're smoking a joint, the hots in the end of the joint is decarboxylating and vaporizing the THCA that's just adjacent to the hots, because the hots is burning and that stuff is just combusting and that's just going away. But the heat from the hots are basically like a volcano vaporizer heating up that cannabis, and as you draw a breath through it, what you're getting is basically the heated cannabis vapor where the THCA has now decarboxylated to THC. But the thing that's cool about this, like you recognize, is that if you're juicing whole cannabis and you're getting whole cannabis, you're getting these compounds in kind of like a native form, right? You're getting the direct. And so if the plant were produce, if the produce were vegetables or chicory or whatever. And we used to, in Italian, we used to eat dandelions. I mean, dandelions were actually grown for their leaves and used in salad, like in romaine and stuff like that. But anyway, just to go back to your point, absolutely. If you're going to use cannabis and eat it or just, consume it without processing it, without burning it, you're getting these compounds. And yeah, the leaves, I mean, who knows? We've always been consumed with the trichomes because we know that's where cannabinoids are produced, right? Mm-hmm. But, these compounds aren't cannabinoids. These are just these flavoalkaloids. And, do they have, like you say, a anti-cancer property if you're consuming whole juice cannabis? You know what? Why not? Mm-hmm. Why not?
I mean,
right?
I think that they do. I mean, yeah, I think it definitely needs some more study. But I think this is some fantastic news that has revealed itself. What do you have to say about this, Nate?
I'm gonna give up any real thoughts I have on the article to just simply say, this has been an absolute pleasure listening to you, but Dr. Mark, I feel fucking smarter just for the sake of sitting here and listening to you go through.
Told you.
Thank you for
I told you before the show. Told you that.
Yeah, no, you definitely said.
Time I did something useful.
You definitely set it up. I'm fairly proficient in the ways of understanding chemistry and physiology, and I really do feel smarter for having listened to you put everything down and in perspective. Absolute pleasure to listen to you speak.
What do you think,
Well,
Jim?
thank you so much. I mean, like I said, like when Jenny caught me off guard there, I had like one page pulled up on dopamine. I had another page looking at CBD mode of action. I'm like, where's the intersection between these things we don't understand in the human body? It's like, holy good night. And, we've always said that the miracle of the plant, if the plant teaches us anything, it teaches us that there's so many different forms and ways to consume. And if you're juicing your leaves and you're consuming, high quality, like, 6th grade or 6-star rosin, I mean, there's just so many different variations of getting those compounds into our body. And our body has evolved ways to hold on to those molecules. That's why it's so difficult to pass a urinalysis test, because these things are stored in fat, right? And then as you burn that fat, they're slowly released in the body to have their prophylactic effect. And guess what? When that molecule finds another place of fat, like maybe a fatty organ or a fatty tissue in your body, now that molecule is going to get trapped in that fatty tissue, right? So it's like our body has almost evolved ways to hold on to these molecules because they're so fucking beneficial for us. And they're fat-soluble antioxidants, which are different than a lot of the antioxidants that are in our diets are like these polyphenolic compounds, the things like in green tea and some things that are in cultured yogurts and whatnot, where they see these polyphenols and berry juices and shit like that. And like in coffee, I know coffee is just chock full of them. That's what gives coffee its flavor and aroma. And so, yeah, is there a nutritional aspect, Nate? Like, so again, I think we can change that paradigm from being a drug to being a food, being something our bodies need, just like the vitamins, just like vitamin C. Vitamin C, again, is water soluble, ascorbate, right? And that will fight free radicals in the water phase in our body, but the cannabinoids are fat soluble, and they're guarding fatty tissues in our body, the organs like the liver and the pancreas and the brain from free radical mediated damage. The government's own patent shows that these compounds are neuroprotective, right? They protect neurons.
Yep.
I mean, what the fuck?
The implications in that is insane. Like holy shit, like
medical use.
Like your family member who's suffering from Alzheimer's, like might not need to be suffering. That is insane that that's not being researched. I couldn't agree more. I have juiced cannabis too. I mean, fuck, like if we're drinking something god awful like wheatgrass, but ignoring something like cannabis leaves that will offer easily dozens of times the benefits, we're, I mean, obviously missing the mark here. So the fact that it's not as widely available, the fact that juicing is almost unheard of because you'll end up going through about a plant a day. And that's just not something that's able to be upkept in what we're dealing with now. It's not stored like that. There's no supply chain for that. And the fact that we are seeing these discoveries one after another and it's still being ignored, I'm not sure. One thing I did like about the article is that you took it all the way to actual retention time validation on an LCMS. What that means in layman's terms for everybody listening is that basically they built a scientific method around actually locating, having discovered this compound and being able to validate not only the presence of it, but how much of it is in there. That's a very, very big fuck you to any naysayer that would say otherwise to discovery of these chemicals, which is kind of fun. Oftentimes with discovery, you don't necessarily see it going that far to say there's almost no point in saying anything else other than we discovered this and it's awesome. So that was a really good article. Thanks, Dr. Mark.
79 different compounds, Nate. So I mean, that's like, and obviously when you're juicing cannabis, you're getting all 79 of them. You're not just getting a single compound. So what FDA would want is that, okay, identify which of those 79 is the most active, and then put that into a starch pill that then a patient needs to take to get the same effect, or to try to, I mean, that it's not going to be the same effect, that somehow those, again, what the cannabis plant teaches us, what Meshulam teaches us, if Meshulam is teaching us anything, it should teach us that there's this, he called it the entourage effect. I think Lester Grinspoon calls it the ensemble effect.
I like entourage.
That we need to. Yeah, I like ensemble because I'm a musician.
I like ensemble.
They play this beautiful music together that individually they can't by themselves. And that
this
creates,
is the thing.
Again, a medical effect. And we know there's actually validated scientific research in a peer-reviewed research right now, a peer-reviewed literature that shows that full spectrum CBD is much more effective than just the CBD molecule that you're going to get with Epidiolex, because it's just a pure molecule, because that's what FDA approves, right? So we need to figure out, again, is it dietary supplement? Is it nutraceutical? How do we, again, use the full goodness of the plant to impact human health in the maximum way?
I'm surprised that you haven't started to see more restaurants serving cannabis leaves or hemp leaves or whatnot, these fan leaves, in their salads or in a mixed green bag.
In the chat,
yeah,
right?
yeah, in a mixed green bag. I mean,
microgreens.
Yeah, because I mean, it's stuff that they're just throwing away. You know what I mean? And meanwhile, they could be selling it to restaurants as far as for food production, and restaurants would end up charging a higher price for that item just because of the novelty and nostalgia of it, and people would be getting amazing health benefits from it.
Jason, do you remember the holiday meal where I used fan leaves as garnish?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah. I miss growing shit. I used to do all kinds of fun shit with fan leaves. I did goddess baths and like all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Steve Blessingham in the chat, he says, if you have a liquor license, that would be risky. And I'm going to say, no, it wouldn't be, Steve, because fan leaves don't really possess any THC. And so they would all be classified under hemp. So it would be 100% totally legal. Just like you have restaurants that have been doing CBD infusions in their beverages, or bars that are selling cannabis beverages over the counter that are also serving alcohol. So I would say no to that. And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And make sure you go into our description of the video, check out all the sponsors that help support the show, and make sure that you use the link to order yourself a case of Liberal Tears sent directly to your door. 150 milligrams of caffeine in every can. And I promise you, Dr. Mark, no liberals were hurt in the tear extraction process.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfer, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
And we are back, you guys. We are back. Jenny, you got Nate next?
I do. He's the founder of Teaching Bud, the founder of Bell Costa Labs, doing the same thing I'm doing and currently fighting the DCC because that's what we have to do in the state of California, Mr. Nate Winokor.
Thank you so much, Jenny Beth, and thank you everybody for having me on this awesome Friday. It's been a great show so far. Really appreciate you guys letting me into the Friday Club for a minute.
Well, we're glad you're feeling better, Nate. We're glad you're feeling better today.
I appreciate that very much. That much said, let me cover a quick article from NORML. That's the what is that? The National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws. I'm going off of memory right there. And that's a long-term memory. I haven't said those words in that order in a really long time, because generally spoken, that's although they help get us to a point of legalization, you don't hear their name that often now that things are legalized, right? They released an article about the relationship between marijuana and opioids, which I would chalk this up to some good news. And we're going to talk about cannabis access being associated with reduced rates of opioid use and abuse, opioid-related hospitalizations, opioid-related traffic fatalities, opioid-related drug treatment admissions, and opioid-related overdose deaths. That's a mouthful right there. But obviously, one point to the next, everything's pretty important. Let's look into it. It's a pretty quick article. And yeah, I mean, it just basically beats this idea to death with data, which I'm all about. 50 patients were able to utilize cannabis during their inpatient stay over a one-year period after medical cannabis policy implementation. Pain relief was the primary reason for cannabis usage, with 60% of surveyed patients reporting reducing opioids since starting cannabis. Our sample comprised 186 patients with chronic pain using cannabis with an age ranging from 23 to 89 years old. In this population, 157 patients, 84.4%, showed a decrease in morphine milligram equivalents, MMEs, per month after starting cannabis use. Specifically, there was a 53.1% reduction. This means MME per month in this period before cannabis use was 3,832 MMDs per month. And after starting cannabis, we observed a mean of 100, I'm throwing my numbers off, of 1,798 MMEs per month. So just to take a quick break right there to explain that, morphine milligram equivalents, typically that's a known metric that's used, very common in terms of being able to study the opioid epidemic as it exists across the board, as it could even pertain to a single patient's dose. However, extremely effective in a study like this of being able to show the overall reduction. The results from the study align with previous literature indicating that medical cannabis can serve as an effective adjunctive therapy for chronic pain, leading to a significant reduction in opioid use. Our goal was to identify a difference in opioid utilization in patients with known cannabis use before anterior cervical discectomy and fusion compared with those that report no cannabis use. A total of 1,339 patients were included in each group. The number of patients filling prescriptions was lower in the cannabis group, in the control group at 3 days postoperatively. The average total MME, that's morphine milliequivalents, per day as prescribed was lower in the cannabis group than the control group at 60 days post-op, 48.5 versus 59.4 respectively. This cohort study of New York State prescription monitoring program data from 2017 to 2019 included patients receiving MC for chronic pain while also receiving opioid treatment. Of these, patients receiving long-term opioid therapy prior to receiving MC were selected. Individuals were studied for 8 months after starting medical cannabis. The daily MME, morphine milligram equivalents, for the last month of the follow-up period among patients receiving longer medical cannabis was reduced by 48% in the lowest stratum, 47% in the middle, and 51% in the highest stratum compared with the baseline dosages. In this cohort study of patients receiving LOT, that's the long-term opioid therapy, receiving medical cannabis for a longer duration was associated with reductions in opioid dosages. These findings contribute robust evidence for clinicians regarding the potential benefits of medical cannabis in reducing the opioid burden for patients receiving the long-term opioid therapy and possibly reducing their risk for overdose. The following review aims to evaluate the evidence linking population-level health metrics with the implementation of recreational legalization policies. Through a literature review, we identified 32 studies which investigated key metrics such as cannabis consumption, healthcare-related service use, crime, traffic crashes and fatalities, suicidal behaviors, and other drug use. One of the most robust associations observed in this systematic review is the correlation between RML and prescription opioids. These RML data pair align and align with previous medical marijuana legalization data, which report decreases in the number of opioid prescriptions provided to patients, number of prescriptions filled by patients, the number of prescriptions discontinued early by patients, MMEs prescribed to patients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Most research articles included on this topic were evaluated as having high-quality evidence. As such, the evidence is sufficient to establish a potentially beneficial association between recreational marijuana legalization and prescription opioid patterns. Huge. Is a short way to put that. This systematic review summarized published literature on county-level predictors of drug overdose mortality in the United States. Measures related to cannabis dispensaries, substance use treatment, social capital, and proportions of family households were generally consistently associated with lower drug overdose mortality outcomes across multiple studies. This cross-sectional study of 189 patients with newly diagnosed breast cancer, I'm reading everything off as they I just entered a comma hell in the article. Let me start over. This cross-sectional study of 38,189 patients with newly diagnosed breast cancer, 12,816 with colorectal cancer, and 7,190 with lung cancer found that medical marijuana legalization implemented between 2012 and 2017 was associated with a 5.5 to 19.2% relative reduction in the rate of opioid dispensing, right on the dispensary level. That's how you hit them in the feels. Patients recruited from medical dispensaries across Florida completed a 66-item cross-sectional survey that included demographic, health, and medication usage items, along with items from the medical outcomes survey to access health funding before and after cannabis inflation. Majority of participants reported either cessation or reduction. I have, I believe, crossed into range of going beyond the study. I apologize, guys. Let me wrap everything up as a summary with the study itself after hitting multiple data points. Counties with licensed cannabis dispensaries experience a reduction in opioid-related fatalities as compared to those without regulated marijuana access, according to an analysis of federal data published by the Washington Post. The analysis measured county-level dispensaries opening and trends in opioid-related deaths. The author reported when a county opens its first dispensary, giving residents easy access to marijuana, opioid death rates go down relative to counties that don't yet have any dispensaries. The effects aren't small either. 10 years after the first dispensary opened, death rates in cannabis counties are, on average, about 30% lower than death rates in counties without a dispensary. He added, the fact that the drop in deaths shows up right after the first dispensary opens and not before strongly suggests that opioid users do shift to marijuana, at least enough to stop overdosing. These findings are consistent with those of other studies reporting that increases in the volume of medical and recreational storefront dispensaries are associated with reduced opioid-related mortality rates. Studies also report that opioid-dependent subjects acknowledge using cannabis to reduce drug cravings and mitigate withdrawal symptoms. That is a part of the larger finding that I started quoting upon, referred to as the normal fact sheet, relationship between marijuana and opioids. So to put it shortly, there is a direct correlation between access, which is in a lot of ways a huge component, really how people have discussed cannabis being legalized ever since the beginning. the opportunity to create access ultimately leads people to having this allowance for cannabis in their lives, and ultimately everything that comes along with cannabis use. In this area, we can suggest that the largest drug epidemic in the United States, the opioid epidemic by far, can be directly impacted by cannabis. And we have massive supporting numbers showing things, and oftentimes in the dozens of percent, being able to show a massive reduction in what we have in terms of an opioid-fueled recovery system versus a cannabis allowing one. And again, the results are massive. I would love to hear what you guys have to say.
Interesting. I mean, we've known this for a while because we've seen a lot of data, just from the fact of like crime statistics as far as how cannabis dispensaries in neighborhoods, generally crime goes down in those areas because they have security guards, increased patrol in those neighborhoods, and things like that. So I'm not surprised at all that opioid overdoses or whatnot are also down in those areas, because we know cannabis helps people get off opioids. Not to mention, if crime is going down, we know that a lot of crime is committed by people that are doing opioids. So this
very much so.
Yeah, this
talk about gateway drugs. I mean, like,
yeah.
What would you think? What's the opposite of gateway drug for cannabis? And that's what it is with regards to the opioid epidemic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing about it is cannabis is only a gateway to your refrigerator, as far as I'm concerned. That's about it.
Oh man, and we all need one of those.
Yes, we do. You got to have a fridge. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to keep those fan leaves cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
It's interesting to see how the stories all intersect today, right? Because to, again, the bounty of, applications that this plant has, right? I mean, it's kind of like an under theme of everyone's story today.
Fair enough.
I mean, I think that, there needs to be, more doctors like Dr. T who are going to be progressive about incorporating cannabis into their therapeutic regimen. And when a patient comes to see them, why would you prescribe an opiate, right, which has all these addictive properties, when maybe all they really need is just, good concentrate, or just even, just some good flour,
Yeah, it's just mind blowing. It was first to market. I think that's the reason why it was first to market. It had the most money behind it, and those that have that level of flux over that industry don't want to see it given to, I think, something much more natural. It requires being rendered much less, and overall is much more healthy for people in its various usable forms. I mean, realistically, percentage wise, what would you guess how much of the health industry does access to cannabis and access to the information to have it used properly? How much does it actually replace what we're currently dealing with?
Well, when you could grow your own medicine, it becomes, then something that they can't control anymore, right? And when you look at the artisan cannabis products that, we all like, I mean, I don't make my own hash, but I have hash makers that make great hash, and, they do it a lot better than I do, so I let them do it. But, kind of like what we were talking about before is like, cannabis is certainly not methadone, and it's certainly not Narcan, right? So it's not going to, I don't think that the addiction specialists, Nate, that I've spoken with over the years have all said that they don't believe that, like a one-to-one replacement. Like, could someone who's addicted to opiates just completely, go to cannabis? So like, our mutual friend, JB Pinsky, right?
Yep.
Pinsky will tell you the story that he was addicted to oxys because of his back surgery, yada, 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 needed cannabis. And it was really the awakening of cannabis concentrates, which, again, for some of us might be, drinking water out of a fire hydrant, right? I mean, you're getting so much THC at that time. You're like, oh, I got to sit down in my chair. I just took this heady dab. Good thing I'm not behind the wheel of my car, right? If someone passed me a rig, I'd have to turn it down. Like I'm so high, I can't take another hit.
Yeah.
Right? That high.
Exactly.
Which I like, it's good to be, you kind of check into that space for a minute. You kind of feel a little uncomfortable, maybe a little sweaty. You're super high, right? Biologically, what that means is that your CB1 receptor is super being agonized, and probably, again, aided with the fact that the terpenes are causing some upregulation in your cannabinoid tone, so it's more effective, again, as a heady dab that's got terpenes in it as opposed to just pure THCA. So, yeah, I don't know. What was the question again?
No, I think you answered it. I think you answered it very, very, very well, Dr. Mark. Jenny Beth, you have any thoughts on this? Any final thoughts on this this opioid epidemic going on that apparently cannabis is helping in so many ways?
It's helping. I mean, duh. Yeah. I mean, I've got some personal experience with it, not my own addiction, but people that were close to me in my life, and it's definitely helped them. But, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Well, I have the last two stories, and one of them's a medical story, and then the final story is going to be the glass house story for you guys, because why not end the Friday with some, what I'm saying, with some little bit of turmoil, since we've had so much great medical information shared on today's episode. But there's one more study. I think you're going to really like this, and I think this kind of goes along with your story, Dr. Mark, because they say researchers have developed a glove that can produce CBD-infused microfibers for wound treatment. And I just think this is going to be so helpful for our people serving in the military if this works how I think it is. A team of researchers from Florida International University, Clemson University, and Virginia Commonwealth University has developed a glove capable of producing cannabigerol (CBD) infused microfibers for potential wound care applications. And I bet you it works better than CBD-infused toilet paper, Jenny Beth. The ultra-low power electro-spinning glove operates with just a 1-volt DC input, a dramatic reduction from the tens of kilovolts typically required by traditional electro-spinning systems, according to a study published by the ACS, Applied Materials and Interfaces. The glove features a needleless ring-shaped spinneret with specialized geometry that allows for smooth fluid transitions and efficient acceleration of the polymer solution. A compact high-voltage amplifier circuit boosts the voltage to as much as 50 kV with an integrated air-driven pump ensures consistent fiber production. In testing, the device produced CBD-loaded polyvinyl pyrodollone fibers with diameters between 1.1 and 1.5 micrometers and a CBD loading efficiency of 87% to 91%, matching the performance of standard benchtop systems. The fibers demonstrated rapid CBD release, penetrating an agarose skin model with 2 hours and delivering the compound into wounded porcine skin in just 1.5 hours, you guys. Researchers say the technology could allow for on-demand creation of drug-loaded non-fiber patches in hospitals, athletic settings, or even military operations, as I previously stated. The full abstract of the study can be found below, and they say in this, it says, in this study, we introduce a wearable, ultra-low power electrospinning glove that fabricates a cannabidiol CBD-infused microfiber. Unlike traditional electrospinning systems that require bulky equipment and input voltages on the order of tens of kilovolts, our lightweight battery-operated device functions with a low input voltage of just 1 VDC. Central to the device is a needleless ring-shaped spinneret incorporating convergent divergent geometry with the distributed liquid nozzles, facilitating smooth fluid transitions and efficient acceleration of a polymer solution. The low voltage input is transformed into a high voltage output up to 50 kV using a compact high voltage amplifier circuit composed of a diode capacitor ladder network. The needless system mounted within an insulating glove ensures consistent and high throughput fiber formation using a precisely controlled air-driven solution pump and making it user-friendly and scalable. To evaluate the performance of this device, we fabricate CBD-loaded polyvinyl poradone, better known as PVP fibers, using both the wearable device and a standard benchtop electro spinning setup. Comparative analysis are performed on jet dynamics and fiber morphology, chemical composition, and drug encapsulation efficiency. The PVP CBD-80 formulation containing 80% CBD archives a jet branching velocity of 92.1 plus or minus 4.1 ms, fiber diameters ranging from 1.1 to 1.5 and a CBD loading efficiency between 87 and 91%. All comparable to results from benchtop systems. And furthermore, in vitro and ex vitro experiments using agarose-based skin models and excised porcine skin demonstrated that CBD encapsulated with the PVP CBD-80 fibers could penetrate the agarose model with 2H and achieve rapid release into square and V-shaped wounded porcine skin models within 1.5 hours. Overall, this work demonstrates the feasibility of a portable, wearable electrospinning platform capable of producing drug-loaded nanofiber patches holding significant promise for point-of-care wound treatment in diverse settings, including hospitals, athletic environments, and military field operations, you guys. Look at this. It sounds like the glove is going to also become a patch, and who knows what else is going to become with that. And all of a sudden, maybe it's some Band-Aids and all kinds of cool stuff coming up with CBD-infused stuff, man. What do you think about this, you guys?
So wasn't immediately familiar with this technology. I looked it up. Basically, it takes ultra-fine fibers. So we're taking CBD, either in a fairly pure form or something that's, basically formulated with something to put it into fiber form.
Nate, I think of it as like you've seen those copper tone socks that they sell on TV that they say that improve your circulation.
The electrospinning, I believe, will be a tad bit different than that. But yes, it basically uses static to create a glove.
Yeah.
So the idea that we can now take cannabinoids like so many other so many other types of products and actually turn them into a certain shape, such as something as complex as a glove, is pretty impressive. You said Band-Aids, but I almost wonder what the other applications are. You could do head masks, all sorts of other things. It'd be really interesting.
Wait. Okay, so you're right. Electrospinning is a fiber production method that uses static electricity to orient forces and dynamics in making in the spinning process. But what you're spinning is a fiber. It doesn't make a glove, right? What you're spinning is just a fiber. That fiber needs to be now woven into a glove, just like any conventional thing. I don't think it makes a glove. I think they're making a fiber.
They made a glove with the fiber.
Okay,
they made a glove with the fiber.
Form then, and it's more of being able to create a long fiber. I think what it has to do is I think what it shows is that you're using the electrospinning method, because what electrospinning relies on is surface tension phenomena, and so the CBD, basically what they want to do is they want to have a fiber coated with CBD, and then when that fiber comes in contact with a wound, right, they want basically the payload, which is the CBD, to
release, to inject,
to release, right? Yeah. And so you don't want CBD in the middle of a plastic fiber, right? Because now it's locked in a plastic bag. You basically want the CBD to cover the surface of the fiber, right? Because it's the surface of the fiber that's going to be active.
Dr. Mark,
but let me just kind of. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I make a quick analogy? So I think that the general public will understand. Is, to me, how I understand this, it works similarly to the collaboration that Band-Aid has with Neosporin, where they would have on the pad, they would already have a pre-allocated amount of Neosporin that once you put it on the wound, you would already be injecting putting CBD onto the wound. It works in a similar fashion as that. Am I correct?
Something like that. They're probably with the Neosporin. It's probably just cheaper and easier to manufacture by just putting a coating of Neosporin over the gauze pad itself.
Yep.
What this is actually doing, it's creating so the electrospinning process takes a solution and basically orients the fiber in a static electricity field, like Nate was saying, and in that orientation, you basically get kind of like you're turning a solution into a solid, right? And so in that process, you spin the fiber out of that, because what you're doing is the electrical forces that are in there are oriented the molecules of the polymer to basically be crystalline. The polymer here is N-vinyl pyrrolidone. So or you were kind of saying it right.
I somewhat, right? I murdered it a little bit, apparently.
So that's a very common polymer that's used in fiber applications. So the only thing that they're really doing here that's super neat is they're electrospinning some PVP fiber and putting CBD into the solution and showing that CBD migrates to the surface, and that's great because that's where it's going to be active. And so then, we know that CBD and the related cannabinoids are beneficial in wound healing properties because of their antioxidant activity, probably because of their peripheral activity in the endocannabinoid system. We don't know. But this is a great application, and it's great that they can apply cannabinoids to this. And before you know it, you're right, there's going to be a CBD Band-Aid.
Yep.
Absolutely right.
Exactly. Probably even a CBD ACE bandage too, I would imagine.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah.
And also, those weird shaped.
What I would think is, just given the antimicrobial properties of it, that they would coat like stents and endoscopes and any plastic that goes into the body that could essentially be pick up a microbial thing. Maybe it's important to have CBD in the polymeric coatings of those kinds of things too, as well.
Yeah.
Any plastic that goes in the body that gets used in other people's bodies, right?
Well, I would imagine too, Dr. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but this also could be something that they just infused into all the fabrics that they make the military uniforms with as well.
Yeah.
Like that's always a possibility, right? Because sometimes if you get a wound, you got to take whatever garment off and whatnot, use that as a tourniquet, and that would immediately help any disinfection or whatnot if the CBD was inside of your active uniform.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be, like I said, on the surface, so it's active. It's not. It's not active if it's locked up. I mean, think about it, the cross section of a fiber, right? So this is like plastic, like fishing line or something like that, right? Cross section of that fiber, if there's CBD in the middle of that fiber, that doesn't do anybody any good. It's only good if it's on the coating. And again, I think the orientation that happens in the electrospinning process helps orient that, because the polar molecules are more intensely drawn to the electrical field. And so for that reason, maybe it's going to be more in the coating. I don't know. I have to understand the physics of it. The physics of electrospinning is incredible, right?
And just a quick question, because I'm learning so much here. So in that then said, that answered part of my question, but the rest of it, how would you gauge effectiveness in terms of route of administration between, say, a topical and something like the technology that's being discussed here?
Yeah, well, so like I said, you want it on the surface of the fiber, and so what you would do is you would take a petri dish. You would have one side of the dish, you would put some of that fiber, and you'd have in the petri dish you'd have this what it's called agar. Agar is just basically a sugar soup that will foster microbes. And then what you could do is you could inoculate that petri dish with microbes and see, do they grow over to the line where the antimicrobial stuff is, or does the antimicrobial stuff now exude off the fiber and create a kill zone on the other side of the line? So there's ways that you can do that by just doing those kinds of culturing tests. But I think for this application here, I think you'd want to do stuff that's in, unfortunately, animal models, or actually just in humans, right? So like if you're looking at like the wound healing properties of these, why not make a set of sutures out of this CBD coated fiber and see if there's less inflammation in that wound versus another wound that's just sewed up with regular sutures, right? Example.
Yeah, fair enough. And we did get a super chat in from the C Word, who says, my local dispensary would not serve me because my driver's license was 5 days expired. The legal market can suck. Well, it's not necessarily the legal market, the C Word, it's the regulations. Okay. And reality, you're a grown adult, and you should not be letting your ID expire in the first place. So don't blame the dispensary for following the rules.
Serve you either.
Yeah, liquor
bar's not going to serve you.
Exactly. Or nor can you board a plane with an expired ID either. So, be a responsible adult, and, I'm saying, renew your ID on time, or your driver's license or whatnot. Man, but at the same time, you can't
some weed.
Yeah, you can't. But you can't expect a business to jeopardize their license for your convenience because you had poor planning on your part to not take care of your individual responsibilities. So, but what I'm saying, we still love you, the C Word, and thank you for that super chat. And as our final story of the day, you guys, man, oh man, I promised you guys a glass house story yesterday, and man, I got one for you guys today.
Bring up the rear end of this show. Move out the way, Jason Beck. What do you got to say?
Man, oh man, you guys, the final story of the day, you guys, I promised you a Glass House story, and they are saying that Glass House braces for big revenue hit after its ice raids, you guys. That's right. And apparently prices on cannabis on the market are going to go up because production is expected to be about 40% lower than normal. So that means they're going to be only producing about 60% of what they were producing previously. That's a big hit. Glass House, one of the largest largest vertically integrated cannabis companies in the U.S., is experiencing a massive decline in revenue in the aftermath of an immigration raid at 2 of its California cultivation facilities last month. In July, federal agents raided Glass House Farms in Camarillo and Carpinteria and arrested 360 people, including 9 of the company's employees. A former worker fell from a greenhouse roof during the raid and later died from his injuries. Rest in peace to him. Following the raid, Glass House ended its agreements with 2 farm labor contractors, which the company said were required by agreement to ensure that each of their employees assigned to one of its facilities must be 21 and older and have valid work authorization. Glass House subsequently introduced stricter compliance protocols for its facilities in hopes of avoiding future enforcement actions, but it's still bracing for a major hit due to the disruption. The company adjusted its outlook and said it now expects third quarter total revenue to be between $35 million and $38 million, roughly $25 million to $30 million below where it was previously, tracking based on production levels prior to July 10th of 2025. In a quote, "We will produce between 95,000 and 100,000 pounds of biomass for the quarter, less than 40% of what we would typically expect," the company said in a news release. But with a ramp up in staffing, Glass House said fourth quarter production should be approximately double third quarter levels throughout the projected $53 million in revenue during the fourth quarter, and would still be slightly below what the company reported last year. Full year revenue is anticipated to be in the range of $190 million and $195 million, down from prior guidance of $220 million to $230 million. Well, this is going to be interesting. I wonder if they're even going to make it to the fourth quarter, because apparently there's things that are happening on the federal side, and the DCC still hasn't acted to revoke their license for having minors on the premises. And so, and the craziest part to me is that Glass House hasn't even acknowledged the fact that they had minors on the premises when they released their press release. Like, they didn't even acknowledge that. So I just don't understand what the hell is going on with Glass House, and I don't understand why anyone would allow minors in a licensed cultivation. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Because they're a hell of a lot cheaper than adults, Jason. Come on. The DCC's not going to act. Come on. They would have already.
Then they don't have the right to act on anyone else if they're not going to take this action, because Glass House was painted as the absolute epitome of compliance in the state of California. And yet,
let me finish?
Oh, please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't realize I interrupted you.
You did. They're not going to act, and that's a large portion of why I'm going to argue that in my DCC hearing for a client of mine. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, like, listen, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's egregious, and Glass House's only concern is saying, hey, by the way, we still got weed. You guys want some?
Mm-hmm. We're still doing 60% of what we were doing in the past, you guys.
You guys know what I've been through just a few months ago. It blows my mind that their business is uninterrupted, and I got framed. And like, just the difference in what happened and how this works is, I mean, you guys have heard me a few times and maybe have a little bit of that inner monologue with you, but holy shit, like it is hard to believe.
I agree with you, Nate, and I think you should take a page from Jenny's book and use that in similar arguments in your legal defenses and whatnot. And I think you guys are entitled to a major lawsuit over the state of California and the DCC for shutting your business down. Because if they're not going to shut their business down for having minors, they don't have the right to shut anyone's business down for anything, as far as I'm concerned. You guys aren't even diverting anything. You guys are just testing product.
It was, there was literally like almost framed style, like there was void of reasons, and it was a march through process that was clearly long determined before we ever received that ill-fated email from them, just without investigation, just saying, hey, cease operations immediately. And long before even that happened, it became painfully obvious that this was something that was figured out, just like it was clearly figured out that no matter what a company as large as this one does, which this is big, they can do no wrong. And I'm looking at these things and I mean, it hurts, guys. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. Like, what they did to our lab and what they allow to continue going on here while somebody else is essentially offering that they have more weed than ever and it's cheaper than ever. And the rest of the industry just apparently is saying we don't want anything to do with you. It's one strong, weird, complex thought that's just, I mean, these regulators are out of control. I mean, something needs to be done.
Any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
No. So I was just wondering, is that Ventura?
Yeah, Ventura, or San Luis Obispo County.
San Luis Carpinteria, is that in Santa Barbara County?
Yeah, Santa Barbara County. There we go. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah,
so, does that make a difference? Like what? So counties, well, certainly like. Go ahead.
I mean, it makes a difference as far as your local licensing and what you're permitted and allowed to do and whatnot. But ultimately, the DCC, which is a state agency, holds governance over their license and whether or not they can revoke it. And it clearly states in the rules of everyone that receives a DCC license that if they allow minors onto the property, then that is a subject for a irrevocable revocation of your license. Thank you, Jenny.
I got you, Jason.
Thank you. Okay. So, and the fact that they had 14 minors on the site, you know what I mean? And not even one of the facilities was closed down permanently. I just don't see how the DCC holds any right to be able to close any license down for pretty much any reason if they're not going to close them down for these blatant violations. That's all. I don't think there should be any point to even having the DCC. In all honesty, I don't see any point because it's rules for thee and not for me kind of thing. Or I murdered that a little bit, but people know what the hell I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's why I asked about like what county it was in. Like, does it make a difference? Like, nope. Again, like you might have one being more lenient than another. I think this is in Santa Barbara County, which is a more affluent county, right? Than Ventura.
It is. Yep. That's correct. But the thing is the county doesn't pull their license. The state pulls their license.
Right. But I mean, the people who are assigned that jurisdiction, there just might be a different, like, right?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
All right.
No. Now, at the same time, the locals could say that they're going to remove their local license, which would cause the state to have to revoke their license altogether. That part could play out that way. But I think there's ultimately going to be some type of federal charges coming down in the near future in regards with this. But we're going to stay and keep on monitoring this for all the action that happens in regards with this, and we will definitely keep you guys posted. As soon as we hear something, you guys will hear it as well. All right. Well, on that, you know what I mean? I guess, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.